Hi, Dr. Garima here, and we'll be recording my second mock questions from today onwards. Interesting question this is, and I hope a little bit of your concepts get cleared as many of you struggle in this question. Reason being, so this question is basically on removable partial denture. See, I understand as Indian students or some Asian students when you are studying prosto and when you're even practicing that in your internship, the maximum that you do is make an acrylic removable partial denture. We are not exposed to cast partial dentures. We just read about it. I read about it from a book called as Stewart, and that too also I never read the full book. It was like this thick book. I think I barely read one fourth of it just to understand the Kennedy's classification, the parts and the components of the cast partial denture. I don't think so. I even saw a cast partial denture until I was at the end of my internship, and I was just like goofing around in a postgraduate area where one of them was making a cast partial denture, and I actually got to see and hold it and feel how it looks like. So that is very unfortunate that our study patterns don't get us exposed, and so because we have not done it, we usually don't prescribe it in our own clinics. And those people who have done it, felt it, know how to do it, really love it, and they do it in their patients. So if you're an intern and watching this video, please take initiative. Go ahead, sit next to your postgraduates and learn how to do a cast partial denture. Understand the concepts about it. But since a majority of you all have not done it, when a question like this comes in the exam, you get confused because you cannot relate the practicality of this concept. But in general, around the world, cast partial dentures are more preferred than acrylic dentures if there is a healthy dentition. Only if there is a periodontally compromised dentition, then the acrylic dentures are preferred. So, whenever a question is asked in a healthy mouth where only one or two teeth are missing, that which is your denture of choice in removable dentures, people opt for acrylic, which is a wrong answer because in a healthy dentition, you should go for a cast partial denture. Why? Because it's more stable, it has more retention, it gives you a better feel in the mouth, it's thinner, and you actually feel the temperature of the things in your mouth because acrylic is like what? Plastic. It does not give you the feeling of the temperature changes. When you eat food, you feel a difference in the temperature, right? The acrylic doesn't make you feel that much, but the metal does. Metal conducts temperature, right? So one thing was that. The second thing is the components of the cast partial denture. Now many people again are very confused because even though you see in the pictures and you read, you actually cannot like quite grasp the imagination of it, especially the concept of the rest seat preparation. I have never done a rest seat preparation. Anyways, I'm a pediatric dentist, so after my graduation, didn't have to deal much with the denture part of it. But as a general dentist, you're expected to know about this now. I understand if you have not done it, then you have to learn it because questions like this will come in your exam. You will be faced with such kind of scenarios when you start practicing in Australia, right? So just to get a little bit of your concept clear about the rest seat. See, a rest seat is always prepared with a round burr, a number 6 or number 8. I'm going to show you a video of it just so that you get the picture of it. And in a healthy tooth, you prepare it on the tooth. When you have a restoration, especially an amalgam restoration, you can prepare a rest seat on it, but it is usually limited to a temporary denture, not like a permanent solution for a cast partial denture. So on a restoration, whenever you are trying to do a rest seat, it's always for the temporary purpose. So you should not choose that as an answer if a question is asking you if an amalgam restoration is present, the rest seat you will prepare on it or not. No, you won't. It's just for a temporary purpose. So then if a tooth is having an amalgam restoration and the patient requires a cast partial denture and you have to prepare a rest seat, how would you do so? You will replace that amalgam restoration with an inlay restoration. Now, I also understand that as a graduate, you have not done inlays, or you may have just taken impressions of it, but actually not prepared and cemented it. So, again, that concept is a little alien and foreign to you, but you will have to learn that, okay? An inlay is again a lab manufactured restoration, which is more stronger, condensed, and it is cemented onto the tooth. So in inlay, you can already provide the rest seat impression or the depression of it, which is more stable because inlay is formed from a cast metal restoration, and it is way more stronger than amalgam restoration. Now, if you give for a long-term basis the direct retainer of the cast partial denture on an amalgam, the restoration can fracture. You understand? So if you give it on an inlay, it won't. Like the chances are really less. Okay. So many candidates in this question, when we'll come to it, chose the answer as let's give a crown and then do a rest seat. My dear, dentistry firstly has to be practiced in the most conservative of all manners. Giving a crown on a tooth which has a restoration is like destroying the tooth structure. Why you want to do that when you can preserve it by just doing an inlay? You understand? I know you chose that answer because you have given crowns. You feel more confident with it than you feel confident with the inlay because you've never done it. But then that doesn't mean that just because you have not done it and you're not confident, your change of the treatment plan will be so aggressive. If you have not done it, you have to learn it, right? Or you refer the patient to prosthodontist or endodontist who have done it. So, anyways, let's start this thing by understanding how rest seat is prepared, because questions will be asked on rest seat. Questions will be asked on the classification of removal partial dentures, components of cast partial dentures, in which case would you prefer a cast partial denture or an acrylic denture, and you should be aware of the pros and cons of all of it. This is how you approach RPD. Okay, so I've just taken a video out here and let's see that.
The marginal ridge with a tip 1.5 millimeters below the ridge itself. We'll begin this preparation without water so that you can see the outline of the preparation more clearly on the high contrast surface of the tooth. Clinically, you don't want to see any burn marks on natural teeth. Use your diamond burr cleaner to avoid this. Start your preparation in the mid-proximal surface and move your burr inward toward the nearest fossa on the occlusal surface, in this case, the mesial fossa. Do not widen the preparation at this point yet. As you prepare your rest seat, continue to move the burr slightly upwards or away from the tooth to avoid producing an undercut lip. If you only move your round burr laterally, you will create an undercut like you see here. Your rest seat must draw with your path of insertion. Once you've established the initial depth of your preparation, begin to widen the area at the proximal surface to create the wider base of the triangular rest seat. This is necessary for bulk to ensure that the metal rest has sufficient strength to prevent fracture where it joins the minor connector. Remember that you want to continue to widen the base of the rest seat at the marginal ridge until it is approximately 1/3 of the buccolingual width of the tooth, whether that's a molar or a premolar. The procedure for the premolar occlusal rest seat is similar. First, reduce the marginal ridge and fossa area, then widen the marginal ridge area, and finally, deepen the central portion of the rest seat to ensure the rest seat is positive. By positive, we mean that the central apex of the rest seat is the deepest aspect of the rest. An explorer placed in this apex should not easily slide from the rest seat. This ensures that the rest placed into the rest seat will remain in contact with the tooth. When you're finished, your proximal occlusal rest seats should look like those that are outlined here with red pencil. There are variations in the shape of various occlusal rest seats, but the rounded triangular form, the deeper central preparation, and the reduction to create 1.5 millimeters clearance are common to all occlusal rest seats.
So, yes, I think you pretty much got the concept of how a rest seat is like, right? I've also taken a Google picture out here. Yeah, so this is an amalgam restoration, and you see this depression out here. That is the rest seat. So this is how it looks. So like I mentioned again, if it's just for a temporary purpose, you can of course give a receipt or an amalgam. But if it's for a long term purpose, then you have to replace it with an inlay restoration. But please do not destroy the crown by destroy the tooth structure by giving a crown, so that you can incorporate a receipt on it. You understand my point? So once you have this concept clear, I would like you to pause this video. I would like you to open any presentation on slideshare.net on removal partial dentures in dentistry, or cast partial dentures in dentistry, or the components of cast partial denture. I want you to go through all types of clasps, the arms, the understanding of the direct retention, indirect retention, the types of it, see the Kennedy's classification, take a good 20-30 minutes to go through that, and then come back and see the rest of the question. And once you have done this, I am sure that you will be able to solve any questions related to cast partial denture. You won't be confused, you won't be dreaded, you won't be terrified with the concept of RPD, okay? You are not alone. Majority of the just recent passed out graduate students are in the same soup, okay? So yeah, that's about it. So let's go ahead and start working on a question. A 55-year-old woman presented at your clinic requesting a dental prosthesis. On clinical examination, you found that she has all upper natural teeth except for eight. Okay. Now, in the lower arch, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, 4-4 are present. So basically, the molars are missing. And 3-4 and 4-4 have large occlusal restorations on them. Fair enough. You are discussing with the patient about the removal partial denture as a replacement choice for her. Fine. So basically, distal extension case, the molars are missing. The premolar is present only 3-3 and 3-4, not even 3-5 and 4-5. Now she needs the molars to bite on. Now, what is the advantage of cobalt chromium partial denture over acrylic partial denture? Better adaptability, yes. Adding teeth is possible, no. In chromium cobalt denture, adding teeth is not possible. In acrylic, it is possible. Is it more affordable? No. The cobalt chromium dentures are expensive because, first of all, they're lab made, they're cast partial dentures, the cast metal dentures, like it has nickel, titanium, or gold, or many metal components basically, which makes it them way more expensive, like almost 3 to 4 times expensive than the acrylic dentures. Easy fabrication, not at all. It has to be furnace, and many components are involved. Designing has to go into it. So the only advantage of cobalt chromium denture is it's better adaptable, it's more sturdy, more stable, and it will give you a feel of natural sensations in the mouth when you have hot or temperature cold food. So I've given here some feedback. For this particular question, I've kept it on as the answer which is given in my mock. I'm not just taking it as a question because I want you to read this concept. So I'm making an exception in this question. Now, how will you design? How will your design get support from the abutment teeth if you're going to make a circumferential clasp on the distal side of the tooth 4-4? Now, look at this, the one which we just spoke about, that there is an amalgam restoration. So you have to give a rest seat basically over it, because if you have taken picture, okay, let me open a picture only so that it's a better understanding. Now, for example, let's go to this. Do you see this? So this is like a circumferential clasp out here. Do you see these rest seats? The where my arrow is. So those rest seats have to come on the tooth. Now, if there is already an existing restoration, like here and here, how you're going to do it? So the earlier picture that I showed you, that a rest seat can be manufactured on the amalgam. I think it was another. Okay, my battery is becoming low. I'm just pausing this video a second. Yeah, hi, I'm back. So, yeah, like I was saying, I had shown you a picture before of this amalgam restoration with a receipt. You should do that only if it's a temporary replacement with a denture. But if you're planning a long term, then you cannot do it on the amalgam, then you do an inlay. So let's see what are the options. The question is basically asking, there is a restoration on the tooth, how will you give a rest seat on it? So you place occlusal rest on 3-4 and 4-4. Not the right option because, like I mentioned, it's restoration and you should not give for a long-term purpose. Place crown. Most of the candidates end up using this answer. No, no, you will not destroy the tooth. Inlay. Yeah. No need for a support. Oh, come on. How will you give a circumferential clasp then? Place reciprocal arms around 3, 4, and 4 for no. No. You have to place a circumferential. Okay. Now, this is the feedback given. You can pause this video, read about it. How will you maximize the support for the denture? Maximum base extension. Now, whenever you have the distal extension, like the arches is there and the molars are missing, you have to take a support from the tissues. It's not just a tooth supported, it's a tooth and tissue supported. So the maximum area of the tissue coverage is going to give you the support. So hence the answer, maximum base extension. Now you decide on lingual plate as a major connector. What is the main advantage of it in this case? The main advantage is indirect retention. Simple as that. See, the denture has to retain in the mouth. Retain means what? It should not come out when the patient is yawning, talking, eating. Now, when the molars are missing and most of your support is from the tissues and there is not much of suctioning happening like in a complete partial denture, then you have to make sure that the denture retains in the mouth with various things. For example, giving the reciprocal arms or the circumferential clasp arms or the embrasure arms, whatever you decide with it. And an additional support, you can give a lingual plate which takes support from the lower teeth. All of you, I'm sure, must have seen a lingual plate. If you have not, pause the video, Google what a lingual plate looks like and go ahead with it. Then again, you can read this feedback. And the last sub question is the patient complained that she does not have an insurance and cannot pay for insurance nor for this treatment. But she is keen to have a cobalt chromium denture as soon as possible. So what will you do? Well, refer her to a prosthodontist. Well, if she cannot pay for you, definitely the specialist cost is going to be more expensive. Convince her to get an insurance to have the treatment done. You should not convince, you can suggest. Taking the insurance or not depends on the patient. Now, if she has a pensioner card, refer her to a community dental service. Yes. Ignore her request as long as this is not your responsibility. No, this is not how you treat a patient. Give her a discount for the procedure. I understand giving a discount is not a bad idea, but it's considered unprofessional as there is a service fee decided, and you're not supposed to just give a discount for any particular reason unless it's decided by the practice manager. It's not like you have your own single practice. Mostly the clinics in Australia and the way dentistry is practiced there is that you have a setup, you have a practice manager, the clinic owner may be a different person than you. So mostly you are basically employed. You're not just going to go and start open up your clinic. And even if you do so, still you won't be involved with every patient. Like there are doctors working for you, and a practice manager is ultimately going to coordinate with the patients. So discount is not a bad option, but it's not necessarily advocated out there. It's a different way of practice a bit. But the answer of if she has a pensioner card, refer to her community dental service is the right answer because community dental service does exist there, and patients above a certain age are getting pensions, and if they have a pensioner card, then their same service, same quality gets discounted out there. So they take care of it basically. So that is the answer of choice, and I hope you understood this question. Definitely a cast partial denture question is going to be asked in your exam, so don't dread it, don't be scared of it, read more about it so that you feel confident about it. I hope this video helps. Again, I appreciate your comments and best of luck for your exam.